Speakly is the closest thing to perfection that I have seen in a language learning app. There are a ton of language learning apps out there, and a lot of them even offer German, but you've probably heard me on this channel complain about the many shortcomings of language learning apps. I've said some pretty disparaging things about language learning apps on this channel in the past. Most apps are useless. It's time someone told you, is not a language learning program. Is a waste of time unless you are supplementing it properly with other materials. So is literally every other app you will ever find. I don't care if the internet is touting it as the next big thing, or what the military is using, or the FBI uses to train spies. The truth of the matter is that none of them will ever make you fluent. That's why when I was first contacted by Speakly about reviewing their language learning app, it kinda sat in my inbox for a while. Then they contacted me again, so I finally took a quick look at their website to see if there was anything that really stood out. There wasn't one single thing that really stood out about their website. Instead, there were many things that stood out about this app. It isn't just another app with an animal mascot harassing you about your lack of consistency. This app has a ton of stuff that sets it apart from the crowd. Let me show you why I think Speakly is one of the best apps for language learners. If at any point during this video you decide that you like what you see or you just want to try it out on your own, there is a link down in the description. This is a paid app, but you can get 60% off if you join with the annual subscription. That said, they do offer a 7-day free trial, which I believe is plenty of time to decide if this app is for you. First and foremost, it is incredibly refreshing to see a company that takes the idea of a free trial seriously. I can't count the number of times that I've created an account for a language learning app to do a review of it, only to find that they want my credit card number, a social security number, a copy of my birth certificate, and the blood of my firstborn just to have the privilege of trying out their app. Speakly does none of that. You open up their app, they show you the general overview of what to expect from it, and then they take you to the subscription page. If you want to try it for 7 days, all you have to do is just exit the subscription page. It takes you straight to the app. No credit card, no building a profile, no human sacrifice. It is amazing. Aside from the refreshing business practices, Speakly actually does their job well too. They have managed to make a language learning app that actually helps you learn a language. Everything in this entire app is designed around the idea that you need to learn a language so that you can use that language. When learning a language, you should learn words and phrases that you can actually use. Speakly understands this. It was created by 2 polyglots, both of whom speak 7 languages. They spent 6 years researching the habits and language learning techniques of thousands of language learners when creating this app. Everything in the app is built around conversations. All vocabulary is taught in full sentences. Those sentences are then repeated until they are embedded in the space between your ears. When you first open the app, you can choose if you want to focus on speaking and listening or on writing, or a combination of both. When you focus on speaking and listening, there won't be any questions that require you to write out an answer. If you focus on writing, you will have to type some answers in. Words are introduced in real conversational sentences. None of this weird stuff that you might find in other apps. Once you've seen a few examples of how the words are used, you are given a conversation that uses the vocabulary but also adds in some extras that you might not know yet, so the conversation flows better. The conversations aren't these stiff, stilted conversations that you often see in textbooks, but rather the kind of conversation you might really have with a real German speaker. The conversations are either read by a native speaker or it is the best AI-generated voice that I have ever heard.
Ist zu Hause.
There are a few times that I heard a small robotic part.
Ich bin ein Mann.
But I can't tell if this is because it's an AI voice reader or because they recorded just a finite number of phrases and then they had to kind of splice it together.
Ist zu Hause.
But the bottom line is, the audio on this is actually pretty good. Once you've read a conversation, it goes back and introduces new vocabulary. It continues this swap between introducing vocabulary in example sentences and real conversational examples until you have finished the lesson for the day. I love the amount of repetition here. It's never enough to simply hear something once. You have to hear it over and over and over again for it to stick. This app does an excellent job of treading that line between not enough repetition and just being annoying. There are also explanations of grammar topics that are simply fantastic. One of my major complaints about similar apps is that they pretend like you don't need grammar. If you're a baby and learning a language, you might not need grammar as it will come naturally. If you aren't a baby, you will likely need someone to point out the why behind the what in the sentence that you learn. Their explanations are simple and concise, but also very thorough. Again, they found that nice middle ground, so it isn't overwhelming or distracting from the language learning, but it's also still enough to give you the grammatical information to give your learning context. Once you've gone through a couple of lessons, Speakly really starts to show off. You can go through the main menu and choose live situations, which are natural conversations in German using the vocabulary and phrases that you've learned. They encourage you to be a part of the conversation by repeating the German phrases that character uses. It listens to your pronunciation and then makes sure that you're actually pretty close. I messed with this a few times just to see what happens when you don't say what you're supposed to. It isn't perfect, but it's better than just recording yourself and hoping for the best, which I've seen other apps do. The pronunciation doesn't have to be perfect to be recognized as correct, but that's also how life works. Your pronunciation doesn't have to be native level. As long as your conversational partner can understand what you're saying and respond appropriately, your pronunciation is good enough. It's a common misconception that fluency means that you have a perfect accent. It doesn't. Fluency means that you can communicate on a broad list of topics. Accents only come into play if they impede your communication. There are also listening exercises. These are longer exercises that are meant to be used once you have a decent amount of German, but they also open up really early in the app so that you can practice a lot. There are options to only listen to the audio, read along with the German text, or read along with the English. You can also skip forward by paragraphs, and you can slow down the speech to 3/4 speed. They're like mini podcast episodes, and they are purely for testing your ability to listen and understand. Then there's something that I have never seen in any language learning app ever, and it blew my mind once I saw it. Music recommendations. I love listening to German music. I think it is one of the best ways that you can absorb truckloads of German language skills as passively as possible. While in college, I almost exclusively listened to German music. If I was on campus and I was able to listen to music, I would be listening to German music. This is one of the few times that your brain will subconsciously pick up on things and learn without even trying. So when I saw that this was in the app, I was elated. The recommendations are based on your current level and are meant to build off of the vocabulary and phrasing that you've learned so far. For example, I learned the phrases Ich bin and Ich bin nicht in the first few lessons in the app. Then it recommended Verschwinde by Annette Louison. If you haven't listened to her music before, you should definitely check it out. But what I like about this recommendation is that it uses the phrases that were actually in the lessons in the song. It's not just music that is easy to listen to and good for your language skills, but it reinforces what you learned. Not just good, legit German music, but music that applies directly to what you're learning. This is language learning heaven. I might even keep this app just for the music recommendations. Speakly isn't just an app either. While I've primarily been showing you videos from the mobile app on my Android phone, it also is available on iOS and on the web. You can book lessons with a tutor on Speakly too. You can do individual lessons or group lessons. It's a subscription-based system, so each month you would get 8 live lessons with your tutor. Individual lessons are 45 minutes long, and group lessons are 60 minutes. Group lessons are capped at 6 students. I didn't try any of their tutoring sessions, so I can't exactly say what goes on in the lesson, but I love the idea that there are tutors available from the same place as the app. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Is this app worth it? Is it perfect? No. Will it magically transform you into a German speaker that is indistinguishable from a native speaker? No, it's still an app. I stand by my statement that apps will not make you fluent. This includes this app. But this is the closest thing that I have seen anywhere before. It might even be the best app that we ever get for language learning. It covers all of the bases. Listening and reading are first and foremost in the app. Input in a language is not just encouraged, it is a requirement to continue in the app. It isn't just passively tapping on flashcards. You have to engage with the language through speaking and writing. You aren't learning nonsense phrases that you'll never use. Everything in this app is something that you can actually use in a real conversation. If you need grammar help, there are grammar guides for that too. If you need extra practice with a human, they have a place for that too. And I'm going to say it again, music recommendations. Discover your favorite German artists and become addicted to learning German through music. I get a lot of emails from companies that want me to review their apps. A lot of those emails just go unanswered because the apps are simply awful. Other emails go back and forth a few times, but after digging deeper into the app, I find that they're lacking such fundamental ways that I can't even recommend them on this channel. Speakly is not that. Speakly is the most perfect language learning app that I have found to date. If you think there's a better one out there, I'll be happy to take a look, but it's going to be very difficult to take this trophy out of Speakly's hands. Click the link in the description and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Das ist alles für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!